I was his student. But he made me feel like his only 1 inch. It all began on a rainy Monday morning at New York University, the kind of morning that felt heavy, gray, and full of unsaid things. I was late for class. My hair was dripping, my shoes soaked, and my heart pounding as I rushed through the corridors of the English literature department. When I entered the lecture hall, the room went quiet. Everyone was staring, because standing at the front wasn't the usual professor. It was someone new. He turned. And that's when I first saw Professor Ethan Blake. Tall, confident, with eyes the color of dark coffee and a voice that could silence chaos. He had a calm energy, like he didn't need to speak loudly to command attention. His first words to me weren't kind. "Miss?" He looked at the attendance sheet. "Harris. You're late." My cheeks flushed. I'm sorry. The rain. He cut me off gently. "The rain falls on all of us, Miss Harris. Please, take your seat." The class chuckled quietly, but his tone wasn't mocking, it was steady, like he enjoyed watching how people reacted under pressure. I took a seat, trying to hide my embarrassment. But when I looked up again, his eyes met mine for a fraction of a second longer than they should have. And just like that, something unspoken began. The weeks passed, and I found myself drawn to his classes, not just for his lectures, but for the way he spoke. He didn't just teach literature. He lived it. When he read poetry, his voice softened. When he explained Shakespeare, his eyes lit up. And sometimes, when he looked at me, it felt like I was the only one in the room. I told myself I was imagining it. That professors don't look at their students that way. But one afternoon, he shattered that illusion. After class, he called out, "Miss Harris, stay back a moment." I froze. My friends looked at me with wide eyes and slipped out. The door clicked shut. He leaned against the desk, arms crossed. "You've been quiet lately. You write beautifully, but in class, you barely speak." I swallowed hard. "I'm better at writing than talking." His eyes softened. "Writers often are." There was silence. A slow, electric silence. Then he said quietly, "You see things others miss, don't you?" My breath caught. Because no one had ever said that to me before. From that day, he started giving me extra assignments, creative essays, personal reflections, poetry analyses. At first, it felt like mentorship. But slowly, it became something deeper. One evening, I had to drop off my essay at his office. The hallway was empty. His door was half open, and the light inside glowed warm against the cold marble floor. I knocked softly. "Professor Blake?" He looked up from his desk, smiling faintly. "You can call me Ethan. It's after hours." That small permission sent a chill through me. I stepped in and handed him the paper. "Sit," he said, gesturing to the chair across from him. "Let's go through this together." He read my essay aloud, every word sounding richer, deeper in his voice. When he reached the last line, he looked up. "You write like you've lived twice," he murmured. I laughed softly. "Maybe I just feel too much." "Feeling too much," he said, "is both a gift and a curse." Our eyes met again. That same pull. That same dangerous closeness. He stood up, slowly walking to the window. "You should go before the rain starts again," he said. But neither of us moved. And when thunder rolled through the sky, I whispered, "Too late." He turned. The air between us thickened. For a moment, I thought he'd step closer. But instead, he smiled faintly and said, "Good night, Miss Harris." It was the gentlest heartbreak I'd ever felt. The tension only grew after that. He started avoiding eye contact in class. His tone was colder. Until one day, after submitting my final essay, I found a note tucked inside my graded paper. It read, "Meet me tomorrow. 7 p.m. The Library Terrace." My heart raced as I read it. His handwriting was sharp, deliberate. When I arrived the next evening, the city was glowing beneath the terrace lights. He was there, leaning on the railing, looking at the skyline. "I shouldn't have asked you here," he said when he saw me. "But you did," I replied softly. He turned toward me, the conflict in his eyes visible even in the dark. "You're my student." "This is wrong." "Then why are you here?" I whispered. He didn't answer. He just stepped closer, so close that I could smell his cologne, feel the warmth of his breath. "Because," he finally said, "I can't stop thinking about you." And just like that, every wall between us crumbled. He touched my face with trembling fingers, searching my eyes for hesitation. There was none. When he kissed me, it was soft at first, careful, almost reverent. Then deeper, hungrier, like months of restraint collapsing all at once. In that moment, nothing else existed. Not rules. Not fear. Only us. Days turned into weeks. Our meetings became secret rituals, late-night walks, long drives to the coast, hours spent talking about books and dreams. He told me about his past, how he'd lost someone years ago and hadn't let anyone close since. I told him how invisible I'd always felt until he saw me. We never talked about the future. Maybe because we both knew it couldn't last. But love doesn't ask permission, it just happens. Until one morning, it all fell apart. A photo of us together, taken secretly by another student, circulated online. By afternoon, the dean had called him in. By evening, he'd resigned. And just like that, he was gone. No call. No message. Nothing. I tried to move on. I finished my degree, graduated with honors, and took a job in publishing. But there wasn't a single day I didn't think of him. 2 years passed. Then one snowy night, I walked into a small bookstore in Manhattan, and there he was. Standing by the shelves, a novel in hand. He looked up, froze, and smiled slowly. "Miss Harris," he said softly. I laughed through tears. "You still remember my name?" "I remember everything," he said. He told me he'd moved to Boston, written a book, and returned to New York for a reading. "Did you ever regret it?" I asked. He hesitated. Then said, "I regret the rules." "Not you." Silence. Then he took my hand. "Coffee?" That night, we talked for hours again, like time had folded in on itself. When we stepped outside, snow was falling. The city lights glowed soft and golden. He brushed a flake from my hair and said, "You know, you're still the only one." And this time, he didn't walk away. Epilogue. A year later, I stood in that same bookstore, this time beside him. His second novel had just launched. The dedication read, "To the student who taught me how to love again." And when he looked at me from across the crowd, I smiled, because I knew he meant every word.